Deliciously plummy, incense-laden, steeped in intoxicating spices, brewed like a potion in a witch's cauldron, a sweet, decadent scent of decaying tuberose rises from it. A fragrance so shocking, so sophisticated, so offensive it was banned from restaurants at the height of its power. And you know what fragrance I'm talking about. It's Poison. Poison de Christian Dior, the dark, glamorous icon of the 1980s. So hello everyone and welcome to another video. As I celebrate 5,000 subscribers, I thought what better way to celebrate than to revisit my all-time favourite, Poison by Dior. It's one of the scents that started it all for me. It kick-started my perfume hobby, my love for vintage scents. And since I did my first review back in 2023, I've discovered new things about this scent. In this video, let's talk perfume history, let's talk Poison, and let's also compare the different versions of Poison, or vintage, of course. I want to talk about the creative process and the circumstances surrounding Poison's release. In the mid-80s, perfumery was at its peak. Dior had their older fragrances, mainly florals and chypres, and they just felt outdated. And by then, everyone was releasing scents like opium, cinnabar, cocoa, isatis, and Dior as well wanted something new, something shocking. Already in 1983, they licensed and patented the name and invested a lot of money in market research. Word has it, 800 different scents were created by independent perfumers, and Dior ended up picking one from Edouard Flechier, who is listed as the nose behind Poison by many sources. However, I've read in other places that Flechier was indeed working on the trials, but like with Shalimar and No. 5, there was this lab assistant who mistakenly added a 100% concentration of synthetic damascone instead of 1%. Keep in mind, I don't know how true these stories are, but according to several online blogs, including theplumgirl.com, Jean Guichard was actually the perfumer who created Poison. He was born in Grasse and comes from a well-known perfume family. It's said that Maurice Roger also worked on the Poison project. So the story goes, Guichard, or Guichard, worked during the week, and Roger tried the vials at the weekend and called back on Monday to give feedback. One Saturday or Sunday, he received a bottle of something that was very sweet and nothing like the fragrance they originally created. He was horrified. They eventually realized that the sample, where a mistake had been made, was actually really good. There was something about it, a je ne sais quoi. And the rest was history. Poison became Poison. So if I understand correctly, Flechier was also working on these trials, but either he or his lab technician was responsible for the mistake. And Guichard says he's not the one who made Poison, but it was Roger who chose the specific trial to move forward with. He perfected the perfume, and as I said, the rest was history. So we can see that it's kind of hard to tell who the real perfumer was. I guess we can say that it was a joint effort with a bit of luck involved. And I really think that when perfumers are shocked or even outraged by a scent at first, that's a good sign that it's going to be something very groundbreaking. And they were not wrong. Poison ended up becoming one of the most groundbreaking, iconic fragrances of the 20th century. In my book, this scent is up there with Chanel No. 5, with Opium, with Shalimar and all the other great classics. This is the greatest of classics. This one is a scent that it's a place and a time. It's a very particular moment in time, but it's also incredibly timeless. And I know that's a paradox, but that's just the way classic and iconic scents are. We keep revisiting them. They attach to memories, or more likely memories attached to them. And Poison is no exception. When I wear this, I want to get dressed. I want to go out. I want to go to a nice restaurant. I want to go to a concert, to a theatre, to an opera. I want to, I want to go to Paris and walk down the streets of Paris in October, November, December, and maybe just drink mulled wine and have fun. This fragrance can be anything you want it to be, and I know I'm waffling, but I'm just trying to put my impressions into words. So let's do a comparison of vintage Poison, Esprit de Parfum, vintage Eau de Toilette, and the current formula, which is also an Eau de Toilette. The Esprit de Parfum, this was released back in 1985. It comes in this small bottle. You can get bigger bottles on eBay. This was a sample. This was gifted to customers by Dior back then. And this was also gifted to me by a fellow perfume lover. So this is Esprit de Parfum. It's the concentration between Eau de Parfum and pure perfume. It's Dior's own invention, and it's very strong, very bold, rich, opulent, deep, intense. I really get the ambery notes, the spices, the woody notes, as well as the tuberose, and this one really has lots of opoponax. The top notes are still present, so this hasn't gone off. I can still smell the plum, and really this is just incredibly strong. You need 2 drops of this. When you smell the Esprit de Parfum, it becomes clear why allegedly Poison was banned from restaurants, because it's just incredibly strong. The sillage is deafening, and this wouldn't be my first choice. I do love this, but it wouldn't be my first choice. The love of my life, my favourite Poison, is the vintage Eau de Toilette, which you can find on eBay for a relatively good price, I would say. This is slightly lighter, but this is still the essence of Poison is in here. This smells like Poison. This, dries down like Poison. You get the fruity, spicy cocktail of plum. You get those deep ambery notes, the opoponax. You get the sweet, narcotic, almost indolic tuberose. And this is just, I think this is the best formulation of Poison, in my opinion. Esprit de Parfum is even better, but not really everyday appropriate, not really wearable. And to compare these two to the current formula, well, the current formula still smells like Poison, but it's much heavier on the white florals. It's brighter, it's more luminous. It doesn't really have the depth of the vintage formula. If you don't want to buy the vintage and risk it being off or smelling off or being too strong, you can still get the current formula and you will get the essence of Poison. This still smells like Poison to me, and the sillage is actually really good. But it only lasts about, I would say, 5 to 6 hours. My mum says this smells like Poison. She used to wear Poison back in the 90s, the early 90s, late 80s, I don't even know. She had the Eau de Cologne actually, and that one also is quintessentially Poison, but a bit lighter than the Eau de Toilette. So in my opinion, whichever version of Poison you get, they're all amazing. And this is just one of my favorite fragrances. It was one of my first fragrances as well. One of the fragrances that I discovered thanks to my mum, and it will always be in my collection, and I always want to have both vintage and modern formulations of this exquisite scent. As you might have noticed, I haven't talked about the notes yet, because I'm focusing on other things in my reviews now that I also talk about perfume history, I talk about my impressions, but I will still talk about the notes because I know that some of you are interested in the more technical as opposed to poetic approach to reviewing perfumes. Poison is a sweet, smoky, floriental. I would say it's fruity, ambery, spicy, very white floral. It opens with this grape soda accord, the sweet plum, the fruity berries, And then you get the honeyed tuberose and the smoky incense. It's slightly animalic. It's got the spices. I don't know what the spices are, but I'm guessing some carnation, some clove. It's also got this balsamic popanax in the dry down, and it's just a magical concoction. It smells very 80s. I wouldn't say it's a chypre because it does have this syrupy sweetness to it, and I just absolutely love it. I love the opening. I love the dry down. I love everything about this scent. It's dark, mysterious, gothic, seductive, sweet, bewitching. The dry down is just pure magic, and I prefer the vintage Eau de Toilette. It really does have that popanax, the tuberose, and the plum is also juicy. This is about 30 years old and it still smells as good as new. I still get all the top notes, maybe just a tinge of aldehydes in the opening, but you have to like incense, you have to like amber, you have to like spices, tuberose, plum, and poison is just a very particular smell. It smells like poison, and so many other fragrances smell like poison. And the other day, I was reading a Fragrantica review from someone who complained that poison smells like those, air fresheners they use in public toilets. And I was like, it's the other way round. Poison was the unique creation back in 1985. There was nothing like it. And you have to have a very immature nose to just kind of throw all these vintage scents in the same bin and just say, oh, they're all bad, they all smell like air fresheners. That's not, that's just ignorant in my opinion. Poison is just absolutely divine and gorgeous and sophisticated, and it just makes me happy. And you have to have, a mature nose to appreciate this. And by mature, I don't mean old, I mean experienced. This is not a scent a 12-year-old would wear. Not in this day and age. Back in the 80s, perhaps, but nowadays, not really. But this is a scent that you have to, and this is a scent that has grown with me. It has matured with me, and I love it even more now than I did maybe 10 years ago. But I do really love this fragrance, and I recommend it to anyone who loves vintage scents. And this is truly something that you have to smell. It's one of the most important hallmarks, cornerstones of 20th century perfumery. Poison by Christian Dior. And if you want a compliment getter, and if you want beast mode, forget about, the Middle Eastern clones. Just revisit the vintages. You won't be disappointed, believe you me. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave your thoughts down below. Give this video a like and perhaps consider subscribing. Have a nice day. Bye.